All right, let's dive in.
Yeah.
Today we're tackling a real enigma, the Countess Saint-Germain,
Oh, yeah.
a figure who's practically synonymous with mystery, wouldn't you say?
Definitely. A legendary figure.
So we're using an excerpt from his Spanish Wikipedia page as our guide, and let me tell you, even just skimming through it, it's clear this guy was operating on another level.
Oh, absolutely.
18th century Europe, powdered wigs, courtly intrigue.
hmm
And right in the thick of it, there's Saint Germain, making waves and leaving everyone wondering, who is this guy?
It's a question that has persisted for centuries,
Yeah.
and one that we may never fully answer,
Right.
but that's part of what makes him so fascinating.
Subtle.
So where do we even begin with a figure like this? I mean, his life is shrouded in uncertainty from the very beginning.
Right.
While we have a documented death in 1784 in Germany, the details of his birth, his origins,
Yeah.
incredibly murky.
So we're dealing with a guy who steps onto the stage of history with a question mark already hanging over his head. Precisely.
And yet, he doesn't shy away from the spotlight.
Not at all.
In fact, he thrives in it, mastering an incredible range of disciplines.
A true polymath.
This Wikipedia excerpt lists fluency in multiple languages. I mean, we're
Huh.
talking French, English, Italian, German, Spanish, Portuguese,
Oh, wow.
Russian, Chinese, Arabic, Sanskrit, and Latin. I'm exhausted just reading that list
It's quite the resume. It certainly suggests a mind that embraced knowledge
on an impressive scale.
on an impressive scale. And his talents didn't stop at languages.
No?
He was also a gifted musician, skilled with both the violin and the harpsichord.
Oh, imagine.
Imagine the kind of doors those talents could open in the salons and courts of the time.
Oh, absolutely. But it makes you wonder, right? Was music simply a passion, or could it have been a tool for him to gain access to these powerful circles?
Hmm.
I mean, the article mentions he rubbed shoulders with the likes of Louis V of France and Catherine the Great of Russia.
Powerful connections. Yeah. Those are some pretty high-powered connections for a man of supposedly unknown origins.
That's precisely where the intrigue deepens. You see, 18th century Europe was a time of rigid social structures.
Right.
Yet Saint-Germain, this man with a shadowy past, moved through those structures with remarkable ease.
Effortlessly.
It begs the question, how did he cultivate such influence? Was it simply his charm and intellect? Or was there something more at play?
Right. It's like he had this knack for knowing the right people, being in the right place at the right time. And maybe that's where his habit of using aliases comes in.
Ah, yes, the aliases.
Right. The Wikipedia article mentions quite a few. Marquis de Montferrat, Count Belmar, Chevalier Schuning, the list goes on.
A man of many names.
Exactly. It makes you wonder, were these multiple identities a way to navigate the social complexities of the time?
Possibly.
Or perhaps even to shield himself from something or someone?
It's certainly a possibility. His use of aliases definitely adds a layer of intrigue to an already mysterious figure. In a time when identity was so closely tied to social standing and power,
Of course.
Saint-Germain's ability to slip between these different personas raises intriguing questions. Was it a calculated strategy to protect himself? To enhance his mystique? Or was it, as you suggest, a way to access circles that would have otherwise been closed to him?
It's like he's playing a high-stakes game of social chess. And we're only just beginning to understand the rules.
Indeed.
But hold on, because things are about to get even wilder. The Wikipedia excerpt then delves into the truly fantastical stories that started to circulate about Saint-Germain.
Ah, yes. This is where the waters get even muddier, the line between fact and fiction becoming increasingly blurred.
Blurred is an understatement. We're talking claims of extreme longevity. Some even whispered he was present at the wedding at Cana.
The wedding at Cana.
Yeah. Then there are the rumors of alchemical experiments, the possibility that he'd discovered the secret to eternal youth.
It's important to remember that during the Enlightenment, interest in alchemy and esoteric knowledge was running high, particularly among the European elite. There was a fascination with unlocking the secrets of nature, a search for a deeper understanding of the universe. And Saint-Germain, with his mysterious knowledge and captivating presence, seemed to embody this quest for hidden truths.
So on one hand, you have the rise of reason and scientific inquiry, and on the other, this persistent fascination with the occult and the mystical.
Absolutely. Two seemingly opposing forces.
It seems like Saint-Germain was a perfect reflection of those tensions, embodying both the rational and the enigmatic.
Precisely. He was a walking paradox. A man who seemed to straddle the boundaries of what was known and what remained shrouded in mystery.
And just when you think it can't get any more bizarre, the article mentions a story about Saint Germain seemingly healing the French Marshal Belle Isle from a supposedly fatal injury. I mean, was he a skilled physician? Or was there something more, dare I say, supernatural at play?
It certainly adds another layer to the puzzle, doesn't it? His alleged healing powers, whether grounded in advanced medical knowledge or something more esoteric, would have made him a figure of immense interest. Perhaps even fear within the power circles of the time.
Oh, definitely. It's almost like we're talking about two Saint Germains, right?
Yeah, a fascinating duality.
There's the Saint Germain who dazzled with his intellect and artistry, and then there's this other Saint Germain who seems to possess almost mythical abilities.
And let's not forget, this is all happening against a backdrop of a rapidly changing world.
Right.
The Enlightenment was challenging established norms, and scientific discoveries were pushing the boundaries of what was considered possible.
Exactly.
Saint-Germain, with his blend of rationality and mystique, seemed to tap into both the anxieties and the aspirations of that era.
Okay, so let's say, for argument's sake, that some of these more fantastical stories are true. Where would these abilities, this knowledge, have come from? Could there be any truth to the whispers that he was connected to secret societies, or that he had access to ancient hidden wisdom?
It's a question that has fueled speculation for centuries. Some theories propose he was an initiate of esoteric orders, perhaps even linked to lineages stretching back to antiquity. Others venture into even more unconventional territory, suggesting he might have been a time traveler or even, well, let's just say, not of this world.
Time travel. Wow, okay, now we're really going down the rabbit hole. But I have to admit, the idea of Saint Germain as this interdimensional traveler popping in and out of different eras is kind of captivating.
I understand the appeal. There's something undeniably alluring about those theories, even if they strain credulity. But I think it's important to remember that Saint-Germain's story resonates so strongly precisely because it taps into our fascination with the unknown, with the possibility that there might be more to reality than meets the eye.
And let's not forget, even without venturing into the realm of the paranormal, Saint-Germain was a figure who seemed to defy categorization.
Absolutely.
He was accused of being a spy, of engaging in financial schemes. The Wikipedia article mentions him swindling people with promises of alchemical secrets. Was he a cunning manipulator? Or were these accusations simply attempts to discredit him by those threatened by his influence?
It's certainly possible that some of these accusations were politically motivated. In the courtly world of 18th century Europe, intrigue and power plays were commonplace. Saint-Germain, with his mysterious origins and close ties to powerful figures, could have easily become a target for those seeking to advance their own agendas.
So maybe it wasn't just his alleged supernatural abilities that made him dangerous, but also his knowledge, his connections, his ability to move through different social circles and amass information. If he was playing a game of social chess, as we were discussing earlier, perhaps those who felt threatened decided to change the rules.
It's a compelling argument. After all, information is power. And someone like Saint-Germain, who seemed to possess an uncanny amount of it, would have been seen as both a valuable asset and a potential threat.
Right, and this all ties back to the question of his identity. If he was indeed operating under multiple aliases, concealing his true origins and motives, it adds another layer of complexity to these accusations. Was he manipulating others for personal gain? Or was he maneuvering within a web of intrigue that we can only begin to imagine?
It's a puzzle with many missing pieces. And perhaps that's what makes Saint-Germain's story so enduringly fascinating. We're left to grapple with the fragments, to sift through the layers of fact and fiction, and ultimately to draw our own conclusions.
And even if we set aside the more outlandish theories, we're still left with a truly remarkable individual. A man who excelled in numerous disciplines, who moved through the highest echelons of power, who sparked both admiration and suspicion wherever he went. So how do we even begin to reconcile these seemingly contradictory aspects of his life?
I think it's important to resist the urge to force Saint-Germain into a neat, easily digestible category. Was he a genius? A charlatan? A visionary? A manipulator? Perhaps he was all of these things and more. Perhaps the very act of trying to define him limits our understanding of who he truly was.
So instead of searching for a definitive answer, we should embrace the complexity, the ambiguity.
Precisely. I believe the most fruitful approach is to acknowledge the multifaceted nature of his persona, to recognize that his life, like many historical figures shrouded in mystery, resists easy categorization. It's in that space of uncertainty, of unanswered questions, that we find the true power of his story.
That's a great point. It reminds us that history isn't always a neat and tidy narrative. Sometimes the most compelling stories are those that leave us with more questions than answers. And speaking of stories, the Wikipedia article points out that Saint Germain's legend hasn't faded with time.
No, not at all.
In fact, it's continued to inspire writers, filmmakers, even animators.
He seems to have captured the imagination of creators across various mediums. He pops up in novels, films, and yes, even anime. There's something about his enigmatic personality and the unanswered questions surrounding his life that continues to resonate with audiences even centuries later.
It's almost like his story, with its blend of historical fact and fantastical speculation, is a perfect canvas for creative interpretation.
Indeed.
And that speaks to the enduring power of myth, doesn't it?
I think so.
The way certain figures and their stories transcend time and continue to captivate us, even as the world around them changes.
Absolutely. I think it also speaks to our inherent desire to find meaning and connection in the face of the unknown. Figures like Saint Germain, who embody both the brilliance and the fallibility of human nature, challenge us to confront the complexities of history and perhaps even our own beliefs about what's possible.
Yeah. So here we are, we've explored the many facets of the Count of Saint-Germain.
Yes, we have. Quite a journey.
Delved into the historical records, examined the fantastical tales, weighed the various interpretations of his life. But I have to ask, what stands out to you most about him? What part of his story resonates most strongly?
That's a great question. And one that likely has a different answer for each person who encounters his story. Some might be drawn to the mystery of his origins, right? The
Yeah.
enigma of his seemingly ageless presence in the courts of Europe.
Right, right.
Others might find his mastery of so many disciplines, music, languages, diplomacy, alchemy, to be the most compelling aspect.
Right.
And then there are those who are captivated by the whispers of the supernatural, the stories of his alleged healing abilities and pronouncements of esoteric wisdom.
It's like he offers something for everyone,
He does, doesn't he?
which is maybe why his legend has endured for so long. He's a blank slate onto which we can project our own fascinations and interpretations. But beyond the allure of the mystery, I think there's something valuable in the way Saint-Germain challenges us to think critically about the information we encounter, especially when dealing with figures from the past who are shrouded in myth and speculation.
Absolutely. His story encourages us to ask questions, to weigh evidence, and to consider multiple perspectives, to be both skeptical and open-minded, recognizing that the truth might be more nuanced and complex than any single interpretation can capture.
Right. And even if we never definitively solve the riddle of Saint-Germain, the process of exploring his story, of grappling with the contradictions and the unanswered questions, can be a rewarding journey in itself. It reminds us that sometimes the most satisfying discoveries aren't about finding all the answers, but about learning to embrace the mystery.
Beautifully put. And perhaps that's the most valuable lesson Saint-Germain's story offers us. To remain curious, to engage with history not as a set of fixed facts, but as an ongoing dialogue, a conversation that continues to unfold with each new piece of information, each fresh perspective.
So what's the takeaway for our listener today? What should they be thinking about as they continue their own exploration of the Count of Saint-Germain?
I'd encourage them to approach his story with a sense of wonder, a willingness to delve into the historical context, and a healthy dose of skepticism. Read between the lines, consider the motives of those who wrote about him, and don't be afraid to draw your own conclusions.
And remember, sometimes the most intriguing mysteries are the ones that remain unsolved. The gaps in the historical record, the whispers of the unknown, those are the things that spark our imaginations and keep us coming back for more.
Exactly. The Count of Saint-Germain, diplomat, alchemist, musician, and perhaps even a little bit magician, invites us to step into a world where the boundaries of reality seem to blur. And in doing so, he challenges us to expand our own understanding of what's possible, both in the past and in the present.
Well said. I think we've successfully navigated the labyrinthine world of the Count of Saint-Germain for today. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive. And who knows, maybe you'll uncover your own piece of the puzzle along the way. Until next time, happy exploring.